off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be... Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, home to the Asian Oprah, number one talk in the IE, thank you very much, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, and Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. For the past 690 consecutive weeks, I do love Mondays because I get to change that marker. We're over 13 years now, significantly over 13 years, and still going. They said it wouldn't last more than a year because I do not talk about headlines here, don't talk about what's in the news, don't talk about what bleeds, because the media picks that to lead, most media. Instead, I like to balance out all that bad news with some good news, headlines to heartlines, and I'm so grateful that you all continue to support and share and free subscribe to my YouTube TV channel, which is where I'm live every weekday morning with topics and guests and series and you name it. It's a fun time. It's fun for me. And some people ask, why do you do this show? And I honestly, it's for me because no matter how bad of a mood I'm in or what side of the bed I got off on my foot on, whether it's the good or the not so good, after doing this hour every single morning in California or naturally high noon in Canada, where I am right now in Toronto area, then after the show, I do feel much better. So that's why I do the show, but I'm really delighted. I couldn't do the show without you. I am now at the amazing 3.98, nine or eight million impressions, and I could not do that without you. That just shows that good news is not as unpopular or as deserving of that tiny little spot at the end of our normal media show, but I stretched it out for this entire hour. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm going to welcome all the new, mostly comics that I have met on this trip, this particular trip to come up for my mom's celebration of life, and stayed a little longer for her fairs, as well as to make the circuits around the comedy scene in Toronto again, to follow up from April. And I am so delighted. We'll just go right into taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich, which is part of breakfast with you every weekday morning, and that's where I am grateful. Top of the bun, what things do we appreciate outside of ourselves, and then the bottom of the bun is what we are grateful for inside of ourselves, what we appreciate about ourselves. And so that's breakfast. That was my first offering, was for all of the great comedy hosts and scenes. I did the famous backroom comedy last night. It was great. Eduardo was very entertaining, as well as the heckler. And thank goodness she didn't heckle during my set, but it was a very fun night. I have to say, on the whole, for any comedy room that I've been in, that was definitely the most entertaining. So I'll be putting that clip up sometime this week, and I'm going to have him actually on the show. We'll schedule that, but that was really a lot of fun. And I also, I have a great memory, but my recall sucks, so I'm not going to try to name any names at this point because I know I'll miss, but you'll get that on my social, Doc Balance on Instagram and Dr. Marissa everywhere else. So I am also grateful for the ability to broadcast from Canada. My home base, well, I've been moving all over to my nieces and great nieces and nephews and my brother. Most of the time I'm broadcasting out of his office, which is great, and I'm grateful for that, and getting to spend time with family. I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for all the really good Chinese food that is in Toronto, and I'm grateful for all the great shopping that I've gotten to do at Pacific Mall in particular. I just love that place. It's so funny. Everybody teases me because yeah, it's just lots of fun things to do. I do go back to home on Friday, so I'm looking forward to that as well. And I love my home in Southern California, so I'm grateful for that as well. And then the bottom of the bun, which is what do you like about yourself? And the reason why I want you to weight lift or practice liking yourself is because I do believe that not liking yourself or being your own worst enemy or your own worst critic is one way to make sure that you're not happy 88% of the time, and also it will unbalance your mental health. And so it is my BS, my belief system, that good mental health starts with a healthy sense of self-care, self-love, self-soothing, and that's why we do Monday. It is Mental Health Matters Mondays, and certainly starting your day with taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich will help with that. So what do you like about yourself? What do I like about myself? I was told, don't toot your own horn, especially in Chinese. The nail that stands up is hammered down, and I appreciate that I did not let that stop me from being a mouthpiece for my Happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. And I appreciate that I try to put my life jacket on every morning with a silver lining, simply because I like feeling good. And I appreciate my ability to focus on those things that make me feel good versus those things that don't make me feel good. So I like that about myself. And I see eyeballs rolling in the studio. Thanks for joining. If you're driving, please do not put anything in the chat. But when you get settled in, go to my YouTube TV channel, free subscribe, give me the finger, this one, not the other one, and come chat with me because I am live every weekday morning. Also, because it is Monday, I'm giving away a free audiobook copy of my national bestseller, #1 Amazon bestseller, 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are, which is self-help on steroids. Yes, I am a psychologist, but I'm an organizational psychologist, not clinical. So the book is not written as a psychologist telling you what to do, but it is a lot of it, well, all of it, from my experience as one of the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma, how to move through that pain and into the power of chiseling, knowing that everything happens for our divine and best good. And when we're chiseled, we are awesome. But if we don't allow some pain in life is mandatory, suffering is optional, then we become lumps of unworked stone, which is not that attractive. If I remember, I will give you that story of the 2 rocks. But Let's see, one more thing at the bottom of my bun. I appreciate my ability to laugh often and much, and that is the definition of success from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and certainly my foray into stand-up comedy since last November is an attempt to bring more laughter in my life. And we do have Larry. Welcome, Larry. I don't know if you've been on the show before, but welcome to my cashew gallery instead of peanut gallery. Good morning. Happy Monday. Allow yourself to have an expectant heart and believe that you will be blessed abundantly today, and you will recognize and be grateful for all the miracles that come your way. And I appreciate that blessing I receive. I live that way, actually. I wake up and say, "What now, brown cow?" And I let what cots happen all day, which stands for, what are the chances of that? And people who know me know that the chances are pretty high that really cool things happen, not because I manipulate or control it, but because I am open to all the good that is available to everybody, not just me. All right, let's see. Oh, there you go. My first time here, but love your positivity. Thank you, Larry. I like my positivity too. All right, that is the end of breakfast. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you do join me every weekday morning as I am here, 9 in California, 12 naturally high noon, 12 p.m. in Toronto, where I am right now. So that way you can start your way in the most positive way. And whether it's 21, 28, or 30 days, that creates a good habit. If you stay here and practice by having breakfast with me every morning, I promise you will begin to very inexpensively start to feel good about yourself and your life. So thanks for joining me for breakfast, especially new listener watcher Larry White. And where is my applause? It's Monday. I can tell I'm a little slow on the button here. Thanks for joining me for breakfast. All right, and now for the topic of the day. And since I don't have my bell with me.
Hey, you! Hey! Hey, you!
That's the signal for the topic of the day, which is conflict. Constructive or destructive or catastrophic even. I try to pick topics that do affect our ability to be happy 88% of the time, and I don't know much. Maybe grief, but conflict definitely can take me out of my happy feet zone, my happy moves zone, my happy feeling zone, and I don't like conflict. I try to avoid it, sometimes too much so that I don't develop very strong relationships or intimate relationships, because it is true, you do need to have some conflict to work through to make things stronger. But if I had a preference, I would say, and someone offered me a conflict-free life, I think I would take it, because I do not enjoy it. And as per usual, the first half of the show, we're going to talk about all the ways in which conflict is a problem, either avoiding it or being in it. And then the second half of the show, I focus on solution. So not to bring you down or anything, if you're in a good mood right now, great. But in order to identify and qualify and make myself relatable, as I always do, that's my role in life, is I'm not perfect, I'm not on a pedestal, I am one of a kind, wonderful, but human. So I'll tell on myself, and usually the first half on Mental Health Mondays is revealing deep and dark, no, I'm just kidding, revealing things that I'm not proud of, but that are definitely part of my work in choosing happiness. So yeah. So Larry, if you're still here, feel free to talk about the conflict in your life. Not solution oriented yet, but things that you get in conflict about maybe, or how you deal with conflict that may not be happy making. I'll say, I think I just gave you the hint on how I deal with conflict. I avoid it. In fact, if I start to feel like there's going to be conflict, the first tendency is want to get someone to understand where I'm coming from, or prove that what I'm saying is correct, and that my point is valid and important, and that usually gets me into a tussle with whoever I am trying to relate to. And that is not abnormal. I know I'm a human being in that. However, my extreme sensitivity to conflict, if I'm going to put the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version, because I was born in Canada, version of talking about the elephant in the room. And I mentioned earlier that I'm one of the 7 out of 10 of us who had childhood trauma. And if you did, you're in the majority. There's nothing wrong with you. When I figured that out, it's the majority. Why do we think that we'll never get ahead? Why do we think we need to catch up? That's bullshit-talky. Pain in life chisels us. And so if you had childhood trauma, which is the majority, my honorable moniker Oprah says it's as high as 8 out of 10. Psychologists these days say it's high as 90%. So the value in having trauma is that you know what it feels like, and you will, if you can work through the other side, you'll have superpowers that others won't, who haven't had trauma. And that's the way that I choose to look at it. And it makes me feel better about it. And for me, it's true. All of what I went through, I would not be the person today with my good, bad, and not so good, but mostly good, and the strengths that I have were directly results of the trauma that I had. So I have learned how to ask the question, change the question from why me to what is being developed in me, what quality, gift, and ability is being developed as a direct result of this thing that I don't like happening to me. But we're going to focus on problem, right? First half of the show, I just told you that. So I will say that because of the high level of anger and blame and yelling and screaming and hitting and anger and volatile anger that I grew up with very intimately on me and not on others, part culture, part personality. I think a lot of you know that in many Asian cultures, the man is king, and the woman is 4 steps behind, and that's just part of the culture. That's a culture that I grew up in, even though I was born here. But as you all know, everybody does the best that they can. So this is not in blame, but it is a factual how I grew up. And because of that experience, any kind of bickering, any kind of disagreement will begin to hit those memorex. If you're a millennial, I'll have to look that up. But we used to talk, is it real or memorex? The memories are as if it's happening again to me. And those triggers, or those chips on my shoulder, or those goats, getting my goat, those expressions are something that I work at not having them quite as sensitive. That'll be the word for the rest of my life. However, it's good for me to know that that's one of the reasons why I don't like conflict. And if given a choice to avoid the conflict or deal with the conflict, my knee-jerk and first reaction is to want to, that fight or flight is definitely flight. With some, okay, Larry, okay, so you're like me, also a conflict avoider. So it is, I know there's conflict style inventories we could do, but I think pretty much if you just stop and take a breath now and ask yourself if you are a conflict avoider or a conflict addresser, that would be a good quick test, okay? So the benefits of a conflict avoider is that you are, you save your voice, you're not screaming, you know how to walk away from a conflict, you know how to not deal with a conflict, you're good at that. And the downside is you don't know how to deal with conflict. And the downside is you don't conflict, if you can work through it, often, I don't know if you've had this experience, Larry, or anybody else, there's eyeballs, I know people are listening and watching, which is great, welcome. And we're talking about conflict, that is the topic today, the upside and downside, constructive, deconstructive, catastrophic, but definitely the cost of me being conflict avoidant is, I had someone who was my friend for 10 years, I didn't drop her, but her comment to me was, you drop people very quickly. And I know exactly what she was talking about, because if first sign of conflict, I'm out of there. I don't want to stay in situations where there is conflict, because it makes me feel uncomfortable, largely because of my past. And when I had conflict, it usually meant I was going to get beat, or I was going to get ridiculed, or I was going to get put down. And I don't want to have that happen. So my normal self-protective, childlike response is to go, bye-bye, tuck to the hand, I'll see you later, or not. Or if I look like you, I'd be miserable too. And take off. And that works when that person is toxic. That's a great way to deal with it. But if that person is not toxic and they're just normal, like I'm normal, and you're not always going to mesh with everybody, there's going to be some corners that when you work at connecting, the relationship will actually be stronger if you can work through that conflict. Now, I never believed that. People would tell me that. I'm like, yeah, right. I have had that happen several times when I do allow myself to work through, but I have to be honest with you, put the moose on the table. In my life, when I do try to work through that conflict, most of the time it does not make the relationship better. Now, does that mean that I'm predisposed and that is an excuse I'm giving? Possibly. But that's been my experience. And every time I think about going back into a relationship from the past that ended badly, it's not one of those things I want to try. Okay, and we'll talk about when to hold and when to fold in the solution portion. So that's been my experience with conflict. I know that I'm not alone. I know that when I do happiness coaching, I have to be honest about my own, and I'm a good teacher, right? That's why the name of the show is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Most of the time I do, but in this one area, it is definitely difficult. I know that it has to do for me also with what are the benefits of working through this conflict, and but I'm biased. Like if I don't think there's going to be a benefit, I won't go through it. And that's the other thing around when our BS, our belief systems will actually decide what you see and what you don't see. That's called the Pygmalion effect, for those who have not been my students before. I actually taught this course at UCLA in the MBA school years ago, and it was called Conflict Management for Management, something like that. And my textbook was Getting to Yes, which is a really good book for business. Those of you who know, I'm an organizational psychologist. This is one of the books that I use as a text, talking about how to get through conflict as a manager or as a director with your peers or those. Last time I used this was with a C-suite level leader, and it was very helpful for him. And we'll get to that when we get to the solution portion of the show after the break. So, all right. Let's see, what else about my own life and conflict? I know that one of the reasons why great example. Have you ever, and you have to be honest, have you ever stayed up all night writing a letter to someone important who you're having a conflict with, and your BS, your belief system is, if I just get the words right, if I can just say it in a way that that person will get it or get me, if I can just find those perfect words, we'll be good. And so, draft after draft, and, balls of paper around the bed, because you can't say it that way, or can't say it. And then you have what you think is the perfect solution of words to get that person to see it your way, and you send that, or text it, or email it, or say it, and it's not received the way that you would want it received, and they come back with something else, and no, that's not what I said, and back and forth and back and forth, and then that ends with a fork you, and some, especially in workplaces. I've done studies around conflict between genders at work, and it's interesting, and this is not a woman bashing thing, but it is true that many men who get into heated disagreements in the boardroom, after a decision is made, they'll say, "Where do you want to go for lunch?" And many women, not all, but many women will have that same level of exchange, and they won't talk to them for the rest of their career. And it is something that I do a lot of executive coaching with women. One of the things that we tend to do, and I'll be honest, put the moose on the table, I think more women take things personally than men do. It is a gender difference. The upside of that is, because we have more hormones, we are more sensitive, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. Feminists don't like it when I say that we are more sensitive because of our hormones, but it is a fact. We have a more robust chemical factory than men do. And as a result, we are more sensitive. And the good news about that is all the data shows that 100% a correlation between sensitivity and creativity. So now when people say to me, "You're so sensitive," I will say, "Thank you very much. That's a compliment," because yes, I am creative too. All right. So I just dipped in a little bit into solution, but I do know that when it comes to conflict, the more inflamed that I get, the less likely that I will want to work through that conflict. All right. So I just put the moose on the table about my honesty. Oh, thank you, Larry. Yes, that's what I do. I put the moose on the table. My honesty and vulnerability. Thank you. If it's, I'm glad it's encouraging for you. That is the purpose of it. Also, because I think that it, you know, people have told me that I am much more effective when I'm relatable, and when I'm relatable, I'm vulnerable, and vice versa. So it is a strategy, just so you know. It's not easy admitting that I'm not perfect. I, for the longest time, wanted to be perfect because, you know, if you have childhood trauma and you're abused, you usually equate approval with love. That's normal. And so, of course, I wanted to be perfect, but y'all know it's impossible to be perfect, and perfectionism, in my mind, my BS, my belief system, and I know that it's actually a disease. It's a dis-ease with life, because if you're a perfectionist, nothing's ever enough, you're never going to be good enough, and that's a horrible way to live. That's why I'm a recovering perfectionist. So I do know that it's important to be vulnerable, relatable, and off that pedestal. Now, I don't want to fall flat on my face. It's still nice to get some kudos, but yeah. Anyways, all right. There is the landscape of what we're going to address today. If you can relate, fabulous. If you can't relate, fabulous too. But I do know there are a lot of people out in the world who are, who can resonate with some of the things that I'm saying. And if you're ready to address your own particular conflict management style, you know, are you managing your conflict at all? That might be an oxymoron. Then stay tuned here. We're going to take a quick break for news, weather, and traffic on NBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'll be back in 2 and 2. As Chuck Woolery used to say, it won't be that long. It's peace in and peace out. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Oh, and also, those of you who didn't come in right at the top, this is your chance to get the free audiobook copy of my #1 best-selling, national bestseller book, 8 Ways to Happiness. I'll tell you how to get that when I come back, right after the break. Don't go away.
Well, she has been dubbed the Asian Oprah, and she just wants all of us to be happy.
Dr. Marissa, aka the Asian Oprah, says the most important thing you can choose is choosing to be happy.
You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa.
That's the idea for Dr. Marissa Pay's new book called 8 Ways to Be Happy.
Many of us say, I am my own worst critic. Nobody's harder on me than I am. And my response to that is, stop it! Why are you doing that to yourself? You have to be your biggest fan, because if you can't at the end of the day say, I did a good job, who is? We don't have to constantly be angry at the things that are wrong. Why don't we choose to be happy about things that are right? We have the choice. That's our muscle. And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And I'm back, You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 106.5, home to the Asian Oprah, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course my YouTube TV channel, which if you free subscribe, give me the finger, this one, not that one, then you'll get an alert every weekday morning. Yeah, I just noticed in that promo, it says every week. I was every week until COVID hit, and I was asked to take over the morning show, and I've been doing that ever since, which then makes it 1,435 podcast shows, but who's counting? But I'm so delighted you're here. This is number one talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And home to the best-selling author of 8 Ways to Happiness. And today, because you are here on Mental Health Matters Mondays, you get a free audiobook copy, which, if you go to my website, which is right up here, drmarissa.life, just Google Dr. Marissa or Asian Oprah, and you will find me. Put your email in there. I promise not to spam email you. In fact, I have people always saying, did I fall off your list? Because I haven't gotten an email lately, and I can't even remember the last time. I keep saying that I need to send out another email, and I have not gotten around to it, but I've had a few things going on. My bonus mom passed 3 months ago. My mom passed last month, and I have 2 blood clots that have stopped me from going on a world tour, but that's nothing. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's my excuse for not sending out spammy emails. But yes, I am here today giving away the audiobook because it is Monday, Mental Health Matters Mondays, and we're talking about got conflict and how to make conflict work for you instead of hurt you. And as per usual, first half of the show we talked about the way I ineffectively manage conflict, because I want to be vulnerable and relatable, as Larry appreciates. And I am also on the second half going through the solution now. If you want to be happy 88% of the time, which is what I do for a living, my mission is 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years, with the book tours, with the talks here in Toronto. I was fortunate to give a talk at the Universal Joy Center, or Center of Universal Joy, last Sunday, and as well I do book signings wherever I go. So that's what I do, and this show is another platform and a way to do that. So we're going to talk about how do we, and I forgot to put the story up, and I will do that right now, is how do we make conflict something that will help us be happier and not hurt us? So the things that I talked about before break was, if we avoid conflict, if we avoid, you know, I'm all about balance, right? So if you're always in conflict with someone, that is definitely not happy making and not good for you or that other person. But if you're never in conflict with anyone, then it's going to be more of a lonely existence, because you will not have any positive experiences with intimacy. Into me, you see, that conflict is important for. And there's little, I don't know if you can hear it, my brother's dog, Duchess, is whining at the door because I think she thinks that her family's in here. But well, I did take her for a very long walk yesterday by accident, so maybe she wants to say hi. We'll see if we can get someone to get her. I am going to outline for you some of the BS belief systems and rules that I have used around conflict that have helped me be better around balance. So I want to be in conflict. I want to work through conflict when it's someone that I either want to have a relationship with or need to have a relationship with. Okay, so those are the two times where conflict for me, I have to work up the gumption to say, I have to work this one through. So let me give you some practical examples. If you're in conflict with your boss, if you're in conflict with your staff, if you're in conflict with your peers, if you're in conflict with the C-suite executive that ultimately can make a difference in your career, if you're in conflict with your married partner, if you're in conflict with your insignificant other, I mean significant other, those are all relationships that you're gonna have to do something. My girlfriend, who actually texted me out of the blue yesterday, Reverend Arlene Hilton, she taught me the term carefrontation, because I don't like confrontation. That word is not even in my vocabulary, because confronting, even though some people say I'm really good at it, I don't like it. So carefrontation implies that you care about that person enough to actually address the conflict. Okay, so the work situations, you may not care about them so much, but you care about the consequences of not having a good relationship. So if you have a bad relationship or a constantly conflictual relationship with someone that you work with, it ain't good for you to go and spend, because we spend more time at work than you do at anywhere else. And if you're always feeling that heat and volatility and dis-ease and anger and resentment and righteous indignation, that's not a good place to be when it is with someone that you have to spend time with. Does that make sense? So in cases like that, if you're currently in a conflict with someone who you spend a significant portion of your time with, then you might want to manage or work through that conflict. So that's my first decision point. I don't have to make everybody happy. I'm not going to make everybody happy. Thank God I'm a recovering codependent as well, and recovering Penelope, the people pleaser, because that's also unbalanced and a horrific way to live. So to accept that you're not going to make everybody happy all of the time, or even most of the time, is a really good BS to carry about, so that you're not always in a down position because someone's not happy with you, right? So if you need to move toward that book, I had her on my show, Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker. She's the best-selling author of What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. Now, again, if you're the extreme on that, also not good. You do need some people, right? You it is of goodness for yourself to know that what you're doing is being approved of, if that's your intent. You want, if your intent is to be a good coach, is to be a good motivational speaker, is to be a good stand-up comic, is to be a good filmmaker, is to be a good writer, is to be, okay, if you want those things, then to say, I don't care what you think all the time is not, that's not helpful, right? But when do you decide to take the feedback and take something negative from someone, and when to leave it? So my rule is this: it's a 3-3-3. If 3 different people who are in your lives, and it is not a passing stranger in a mall, and they matter because of the proximity and the level of interaction, if 3 of those people give you 3 of that criticism that you're bristling and wanting to get in a fight about, but if it's 3 people that say the same thing 3 times to you, that is something that might be yours to own, okay, that it might be helpful for you to have a little come to Jesus talk with yourself. And I'll give you a great example. So in my family history, we have very strong personality traits. And, I joke about them, the Tao, because my mom's maiden name is Tao. And ironically, that means in Taoism, peace. But it is not peacemaking. The absolute critical, you gotta be right. If you're not right, it's the end of the world. And so I know that I have that personality trait in me that is not helpful most of the time. Some of the time it's good, if I'm a leader or if I'm a teacher, I have to at some point say, this is a beneficial thing to believe, or this is, something useful that you might want to adopt, right? So there is benefit to it. But when I am beginning to feel the little burning of brewing conflict around something that really doesn't matter, okay? Is it really, and I use INTBOD, INTBOAD, as a tool in this. When I feel like I'm getting into a conflict, I stop myself, I take a breath, and I ask myself, INTBOAD, it's not that big of a deal. Is it a big deal? Is this the hill I want to die on? Is it, when to hold and when to fold? Is it really going to make that big of a difference if I win or if I am right at this? And I have to be honest, because of the way I was raised, because of that role modeling, because of that common denominator, there, anyone in my family who is like me, who has adopted this BS, to be right is to win is to be the best is to be loved, to be the best is the only thing, the important thing, then I'm probably going to get in a tussle with that person. And I think that's what Eckhart Tolle was talking about when he said, if you think you're enlightened, spend a week with your family. And I've talked about this in, when we go home for Christmas or we go to family reunions, and you almost know, you can predict some kind of conflict's going to happen between certain people, or some kind of conflict's going to happen because of this particular topic. It's like a pattern. It's a habit, and it just happens unconsciously, subconsciously, because it's easy, right? Path of least resistance. And so on those things, if you can arrest yourself and say, okay, is there something in me that is participating in this conflict? Is it working for me? That's not easy, because I'll say yes, because I'm right. But if I want, above all, to have 88% peace and happiness in my life, at some point, I gotta let go of the rope. I got to say, this is just not worth the angst that I know it's going to put me in. That's deconstructing deconstructive or catastrophic conflict. If the conflict is not working for me, then I'm going to let that go. If resolving that conflict is going to make the relationship stronger, then I'm going to do the confrontation. So how do we go through confrontation? Okay, so I got something there, Larry, that you said, haha, true, good. So this is my formula for confrontation, and it goes, I have to be honest, put another myth on the table. Sometimes I feel statements don't work, and I know that that is one of those solutions that a lot of therapists or coaches or counselors or psychologists talk about, I feel statements. And frankly, my dear, when I'm in that place, I don't give a flying fork through a rolling donut how you're feeling. I only want you to know how I'm feeling. And frankly, I don't even want to talk about what I'm feeling. I just want you to understand and agree and allow that I am correct, or that my way is the better way. Okay, so when I'm in that place, I feel statements are almost more triggering than not saying how I feel. So I actually take from that book that I used as a text, Getting to Yes, one of the most important principles that I believe and that I teach around conflict, which is, can you identify between the two of you something that you both want equally, or maybe not even equally, but it's called a common resolution. I call it, this is my a CRP, a common resolution point, or a CRV, a common resolution vision. My brother did ask me if he should get a beagle. I don't know if you can hear that in the background. Common resolution vision. So instead of arguing, right, what is the right point, or what is the right answer, or even trying to get someone to understand where you're coming from. And I where was it that I taught this the other day? Because some people, it was on another show. I had guests for the movie Bridging the Gap, which is coming out. And if you missed that show, just go to my YouTube channel, free subscribe, and pull it up. It was a great interview. It was last Friday, and it's called Bridging the Gap. It was on Straight Talk with Ricky Rebel. So they were talking about the importance of understanding where the other person is coming from, which is good. If you can get to that place where you shut up enough that you're actually listening, and not listening for how you can give something back to retort what that person just said. And I'm guilty of that. I used to listen to try to find a way to put their argument, and make that argument the next argument, and the next point, and the next point wrong. Okay, so if you're listening to try to make that person wrong, don't even bother. That's not listening. Understanding, I believe, is only possible if you can put your stuff aside. And that's not easy to do. That's why this particular solution allows people to be creative instead of reactive. So what do we both want? That's a good question. That's my question to resolve conflict. So you take a breath and you go, what do we both want? Not out of this particular conflict, but in the overall 88,000 foot look of our lives, what do we want? What do we both want equally, or at least similarly? And I don't know many people who don't want peace, or don't want mutual regard, or don't want an easier interaction. So all of those could be common. Is that where we want to go? Is that ultimately what we want? And I don't know many people who would argue that, no, that's not what I want. I want me to be happy and you to be miserable. Now that has kind of been the way that our leadership and management has. Can you hear that, Larry? Is that, turn out, okay, can't hear me all the time. I think it's because of my, let's see, is that a little better? I'm about to go and yell at the dog. We're almost done here. It's too, is that better? I'm about to get into another conflict. Please shut the dog up. So your dog. So if you can find, excuse me. Duchess. Shush. Thank you. See, that relationship doesn't really matter because I'm leaving the dog here. All right. Hopefully that's better. She did, yes. Okay. So what do we both want? We want an easier relationship. We want peace. We want mutual regard. So once you step back from that particular point of conflict and can both go up there, even if you're in that heat, and if you are in a place where no one is listening, then take a break. This is a tough one because the balance, again, some people walk away and then it makes things worse because the other person wants to address it. But here's a really good thing. If you can establish with people that you have to be around, what your best time in addressing things. Some people can leave things for a long time. Some people have to address them immediately. Neither one can win. So if you both can start, even when you're in a good place, to figure out, okay, what is our, resolve time point? Okay. RTP. Okay, I'm doing my alphabet soup today. So if you can figure that out, then it's not a big deal to say, okay, we're going to have to go to our corners. I'll meet you back here in 2 minutes because you've decided already one person could do it forever. The other person wants it right away. The median is whatever you decide. Okay. And if the closer the relationship, the more intimate the relationship, if you really want advanced conflict management, hold their hand. When you come back together, hold their hand, look into their eyes, and again, if say I feel statements, if that's triggering, don't use I feel statements. Just say, I don't know if you will ever fully understand where I'm coming on this. That's okay. The benefits of doing this are, and the consequences of not doing this are, the benefits of hearing me out are, and the consequences of not hearing me out. And this is when you get creative. If this is your intimate partner, offer them something in the bedroom that is going to make them happy. All right. Or, we've got 5 love languages. It's not just that. If you know that person, this is where you can do the creativity. But the main point is, what in the largest scheme of things do we want? And then work backwards on how to get to that point, instead of starting at the base level where you're both ticked off to explain how each other is feeling. And maybe that is why some of the relationships have not been resolved that are in conflict, is because anytime we keep talking about how we're feeling, you just keep getting dug in further and further because the other person doesn't. My best example, and I'll close with this. My husband, when we were still married, went to a therapist who said to my husband, what is your chief criticism right now? What is driving your anger towards her? And he said, she gets her manicure every week and it's excessive and she doesn't need to and it's expensive, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I don't think it is extensive. It's something, I'm a professional. Yeah, I picked a man who didn't like to work, but that's another story. But, I don't think that it is excessive. And he said to me, do you really think that? I say, yes. And do you really think this to my husband? He said, yes. And so he looked at me and he said, it has to be okay that you can't convince him and that he doesn't agree. But the strength of your own knowing that this is okay has to be enough. Blew my mind. So that is the last thing. In the conflict, can it be enough that you understand why it's important and let the other person go? Let them have whatever BS belief system has about what you're doing, saying, all right? And let them have that belief system. It's not going to kill you, and it's more important what you think yourself. And that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Mental Health Matters Mondays. This is Dr. Marissa. It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Tomorrow's guest Tuesday talent, I've got a couple of guys that I was on their show, and it's going to be a great episode. Wednesday, Doctors in the House with Dr. Tiffany and I. She's an MD. I'm a PhD. Thursday is Throwback Thursday. Friday is Straight Talk. Thanks for joining me today. Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow.